Our guest today is the founder and CEO of Advantage Spring and a specialist in negotiation. Her clients include Channel 4, the BBC and Goldman Sachs. She's just released her first book, We Have a Deal. Please welcome Natalie Reynolds to the show. Welcome.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. First of all, do you want to tell us about your business, what you do?
So I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Advantage Spring, and we basically teach people how to be more confident when they negotiate. So we teach people in large corporates and we teach people running their own businesses, and it's everything from the process of negotiation right through to actually having the nerve to do it in the first place, which is one of the biggest challenges for everyone.
It's needed. Yeah, it is. Yeah, we need it. I've actually been to one of your workshops. Yes. I think it's the most popular one is Negotiation, A Man's Game, which was it was so good. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
But why did you make that specific workshop targeted at women?
Okay. That's a really good question, and I actually think that feeds into the whole expert thing. So maybe if I take a step back.
Okay, yeah.
So when I was working at my previous company, who are now a competitor, I was really interested in the human side of negotiation. So not just kind of how we negotiate, but why we negotiate in the way that we do. So to sum it up really nicely, you might make me a proposal, you might make me the exact same one, but I might choose to say yes to you and no to you. So what I'm interested in is why. Why have I chosen to do that? Why have I reacted to him in this way, and why have I reacted to her in that way? And one of the things that a lot of my clients at the time were saying is, does our gender influence how we negotiate? And I looked into it and I researched it and I spoke to different people around the world on it, and I started to become of the view that let's talk about this, because I believe men and women are just as capable and competent as each other.
Yeah.
But there are differences in how we are viewed, and we can't get away from that. We are viewed differently. There are different stereotypes.
Yeah, 100%. So following up from Vanessa's question, why do you think women fail to negotiate, at work, salary, work conditions? Why do you think that is?
Really good question. I mean, first of all, that's one of the most common beliefs and stereotypes, that women tend not to negotiate as readily as men when presented with the opportunity to do so. And in the book, there are bucket loads of bits of research that back that up. Yeah. Now, I think, having read pretty much every book that exists on negotiation as part of writing my own, I think a lot of it comes down to social penalty. So what I mean by that is there's lots of research that tells us that when men negotiate, they are viewed as confident, assertive, that they're in control, they know what they want. When women negotiate, men and women tend to view them more negatively, as more aggressive, as more demanding and inappropriate in their behaviours. And I think women start to become aware of this, and the social penalty, unfortunately, has been proven to be very real. And as I said, not just men making these negative judgments, we women do too.
Definitely.
So actually, how do we start to overcome that? So I think that's the primary reason: fear of negativity and fear of judgment that stops us potentially from negotiating.
Wow,
that's really interesting. You mentioned that you read loads of negotiation books in the lead up to writing your own, and again, congrats.
Thank you.
On We Have a Deal. It's doing brilliantly. So why did you think it was time for you to write that book?
Well, bizarrely, I didn't. And then this is always the way, isn't it? Someone else will spot your potential and tell you to do something.
Okay.
So when I first set up the company, I was very fortunate to do a few pieces for The Guardian for a woman called Harriet Minter, who is a friend now to this day. And the reaction to those articles was fantastic. And one of the best bits of feedback I was getting was that I write about negotiation in a way that's very accessible, as in it's not really stuffy, it's not kind of really grey and dull, because it can be really boring, really boring. And in my previous jobs, I'd had to read all the books out there, and they just felt like it was written by the same man again and again and again.
Mundane.
Really mundane.
It's like a dictionary, isn't it? Who wants to read that?
Absolutely, and you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And so I remember doing an event at a members club aimed at women called the Trouble Club, and at the event, a publisher came along to watch me, and they said, "We'd really like you to write a book." But
that's like a dream, though, isn't it?
Yeah, which is cool.
That's amazing.
Really good.
Yeah.
But I remember at the event, there was a woman there from the Evening Standard who's still there, who gave me some advice, which was, when you write the book, write it as you. Don't write it as the man you think should be writing it.
Yeah.
And actually, the whole point about you and negotiation is that you make it a different, it's exciting and a bit more accessible. So talk about it like that when you write, and that's what I tried to do. So my whole point was, why do it was because I think there was a need for an interesting book on negotiation that anybody could pick up. Anybody.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Exactly, because I read the book, and what I really loved was like how you kind of broke it down, because I saw it as like it's in 2 parts, and the first part you talk a lot about the common mistakes everyone makes, and I was thinking, oh my god, I do that one, I do that. There was like a lot, and I was like making all of these mistakes, and I really loved that. I mean, do you want to talk to us about like what would be your top 3 in terms of the most common mistakes that people make?
Okay, so I think the first one would be viewing negotiation as a battle or a competition, and I think fundamentally a lot of us view negotiation as win or lose, and as a result of that, we often go in trying to win at all costs. The problem with that is if you make your counterparty feel like they've lost, if you ever have to work with them again, if you ever need to rely on them for anything again in the future, they're not going to thank you for it. They're going to remember how you've treated them.
Yeah.
I think also if you can stop viewing negotiation as a battle or a competition, it starts to become far less intimidating, because people do view it as a conflict.
It's scary.
And it's scary, and so actually if you're viewing it as I either win this or I lose, well, it's not a very pleasant experience. So I think the first one is negotiation's not about winning, at least not outwardly anyway. The second one would be when it comes to negotiation, you need to make sure that you don't fall into the trap of winging it. I think so many people wing it, and I think people view that as a strength.
Story of my life.
I
don't know how I've made.
You're not the only one.
I winged my whole life. Getting on the train was winging it.
But I think a lot of people think that to be a good negotiator, you need to have years of experience, and you need to be able to go in there without a script, and you'll just be able to do it. Simply not true. Negotiation is about discipline and planning and preparation, and that is such a big thing. The best negotiators are the ones who put in the hours of work behind the scenes that no one ever sees. So don't wing it. It's not going to help you. And the final one, there's so many. Okay, in terms
there was loads. Sorry, there were so many.
There's 20.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably say for a third one then, it's giving things away for free. So a lot of people, when they negotiate, what they do is they focus in on one thing they really want to get. And what they then do is they identify loads of things that they could give to the other side so that they can get that one thing. So, let's say you were trying to get an hourly rate for the work that you do. You might have that hourly rate in your head as the target, but actually what you then do is you give and give and give and give loads of other things to get it. Now that's fine, but actually if the cost of all the things you've given away is more than what you get, not so good.
Definitely.
So always trade.
Okay.
So there's a chapter in your book that educates the readers on how to go and get what they want. Can you tell me, how do I use this technique in life? I need to know.
Okay, I think it's about being clear on what you want and being clear on the steps that you need to go and get it. So if you need to achieve a certain thing, what are the steps to go and get it, and plan the ask. So be clear on what you're asking for. And don't forget, people aren't mind readers. That's the first thing. If you don't ask for it, how are they going to know that you want it? But I don't think we think like that. We think, oh, you know what, they're just going to know that I want this. And if you think about salary, people think, oh, well, if I work hard, they're going to reward me with a pay increase. Not necessarily. You have to ask. So how do you get what you want? Well, the first thing is just ask. And then the second thing is follow the deals method that's in the book. Plan and prepare properly. Establish your boundaries. Plan alternatives. Take the lead and seal the deal properly. It's actually quite straightforward.
It's simple when you think about it.
But it's just everyone has that fear, because
I've had that. Didn't they?
Everyone worries if I ask, because I had this at my old workplace when I kind of winged it though in negotiation. I just basically said, if you don't give me a rise, I'm off. Not the best way, but a lot of my colleagues, they were scared. They were like, we can't ask, because if we ask and then if they say no, then they'll make my life hell. It's that fear of kind of what's going to happen to me.
And often though the reality is never as bad as you think it's going to be. I'm going to give you a really, really dreadful cliche, but I think it actually makes a lot of sense, and I can't believe I'm about to say this. Let's get through it. I always describe negotiation as being like a muscle, right? And so what I say is that if you avoid negotiation, if you never do it, kind of like if you never exercise, you never put your muscles to the test, when you then have to run a marathon, it is going to really, really hurt.
Yeah.
Now, the point is if
Yeah.
you can actually use that muscle a little bit every day, when you do have to run that marathon, it'll be far less painful. So with negotiation, constantly look for
Build up.
opportunities to practice.
Yeah.
Practice. Speak out loud. Practice with friends. Find a girlfriend. Find about whoever.
Be confident.
Be confident and get them to help
Just have
you.
loads of arguments and try and win.
Come to my house,
basically.
seriously.
Like,
But the more you do it, the easier it becomes, without a doubt.
That's brilliant. You mentioned be the lead in negotiation. So why do you encourage people to lead it?
I think because if you don't lead it, they will.
Okay.
To be really, really straightforward about
Yeah,
it, if
I know
you
what you're
don't take the lead, they will steer it. And again, to give you a little bit of an analogy, at the start of a negotiation, you've got two choices. You either get in the driving seat, so you've got the steering wheel in front of you. And of course, if you've got the steering wheel in front of you, you can steer that negotiation where you want it to. If you choose to sit in the passenger seat, you've got a hell of a job to reach over and reach the steering wheel.
Definitely.
So when I talk about take the lead, what I don't mean is necessarily be the loudest, be the most brash. What I mean is be prepared, be willing to speak out, be willing to steer that conversation. And often a nice way to do that is to be the person that acknowledges why you are there. So if you and I were sitting down to negotiate, it would be sensible for me to say, thanks for agreeing to meet with me. I'm really pleased that you're willing to talk about my salary today. So straight away, I'm the one steering
I've got
that.
chills. I'm like, okay, how much do you want?
can you run for Prime Minister?
That's next.
Do you know what though? I really want to know, because for us to get some tips, who would you say are great negotiators?
A really good question. And what a timely question as well, given that we have got a whole load of women now on the global stage who are going to be negotiating some of the most challenging deals as we exit the European Union. And let's be clear on this, they're not just negotiating Brexit, they are negotiating then 50 plus trade deals. So who negotiates well? I could give you names of politicians. I could give you names of people throughout history who have negotiated brilliantly. But I actually think brilliant negotiators can be everyday people. It can be you, it can be me. And actually, brilliant negotiators are people with discipline. Discipline is the biggest skill of a negotiator. People who are able to know what they want, plan effectively and execute it. And keep their nerves in check. So is there a big name I'm going to give you? No. Anyone can be a brilliant negotiator.
Us.
I will be.
Exactly. Oh, Natalie, it's been great having you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Thank
So
you.
inspirational.
Yeah, really good. And I mean, where can our viewers keep up to date with what you're doing?
Get the book,
Yes,
especially.
the book, get it out.
Yeah.
Waterstones, isn't it? Waterstones, all the
Like all the bookshops,
yeah.
all online retailers. But if you want to just stay on top of what we're doing, then we've got our blog on the website where we post like the newest research, new thinking. We're very active on social media, so connect with us on Twitter and LinkedIn.
So what's your handles?
ADV Spring is the company, and ADV Spring CEO is me.
Okay, fantastic.